Hello, I'm Lann, and welcome to Special AF.
And I'm Lydia, and we've got another special guest for you today.
Who are you? What do you do?
The who am I question's the easiest, isn't it? So I'm Ben Pettit-Wade, and I'm Artistic Director at Hijinks Theatre.
Welcome, Ben.
Can you tell us a little nutshell summary of what Hijinks is?
Yes, I'll try. Hijinks, we're a theatre company. Our base is in Cardiff, but we're working across Wales and nationally, internationally. We're maybe a little different to most theatre companies in that at the heart of our work are our learning disabled and or autistic artists. So all of our productions are made or co-created with those artists who are in training on our academies. So across Wales we have 5 different academies in different regions. I'll list them, shall I? So we've got 2 in Cardiff.
Let's do that.
2 in Cardiff, 1 here in Carmarthen, which I've just been on today, 1 in Aberystwyth, and 1 in North Wales, in Mould at Theatre Clwyd. So they come in and they receive 2 days per week training throughout the year.
Right.
And then from those artists, they then join us in the creation of our productions.
Okay.
And then our productions go on to tour around the UK and often outside the UK as well.
Yeah, we've been looking at what you've been doing, and
you're all over the shop.
We are all over the shop. I mean, in all sorts of ways.
No offence.
It's very true.
How do people, like, say someone was interested in becoming like part of your academy? Is that something people can do?
Yes, of course. So it is just a matter of dropping us a line and kind of letting us know about your interest. Obviously, there are some parameters in terms of how you join an academy.
Yeah.
The way in which the academies operate is it is funded via social services payments.
Right. Okay.
So one kind of, I guess, necessary caveat is that you need to be kind of a part or have a social worker.
Right.
In which case then you can access a budget to be able to join the academy as part of your kind of development and training for employment. So that is one kind of caveat, and it's for, obviously you have to be plus 18, so it's adult provision. But that enables us to kind of have a real investment in the artists that we're working with, because we're not looking at a structure that's a temporarily funded project as such, but we're able to work with people. Yeah.
And how did you say it was a 2-year thing, or did I just make that up? They're sort of
it's ongoing
through the
So we have some that have been with us now for over 10 years on the academy. So you know, it's a choice when you think you're ready to leave at the moment.
Okay.
I mean, we're looking at how that works right now, because now we're in a situation where we do have a lot of people that want to join academies. So we have waiting lists, because it's difficult to free up the space to be able to then offer new people,
of course,
that opportunity.
And Hijinks has been going, is it like 40? This is 45th year.
Yeah.
So it's something's right about it.
Yeah, it is. It's been a very well established company. I joined 2007 and have worked various different roles at the company.
How did you get involved, Ben?
I mean, I applied. I was actually living in Poland at the time, and I wanted to move back to the UK, so I was looking for work, and it was just an advert that I saw. Previous to that, I'd worked for another company in London called Spare Tyre Theatre Company. Again, it had that connection with working with learning disabled artists, so it was an area of interest. Yeah, and I saw the job come up at Hijinks as an outreach officer. And I made the application from Poland, and I came for the interview, and the rest is history.
He never left.
And never left. That was it. So
have you seen like a lot of change in the industry, particularly sort of where inclusivity is involved? Is it progressing?
And yes, I mean, the progress is probably never quick enough. But certainly in the coming up to 20 years with Hijinks, you know, the world is a very different place now than it was in 2017 in many different ways. And I think one of the positive things is that in general there is more appetite and more interest in terms of creating work that is either made by or has disabled or learning disabled artists as part of that process. And that's something that's certainly been a shift in terms of the funding models, and it's been seen to be more attractive now from arts councils, from trusts and foundations, etc., that you're able to fulfill those requirements. So it used to be a lot more difficult for us.
Is it a sort of chicken and egg thing? You know, Hijinks and outfits like it had to be successful to be then able to approach funders and commissioning bodies and so on.
In some ways, there's a kind of
balance
proof of concept, so kind of thing, because it was a lot more of a fight to even get booked for our work in a theatre, you know, 20 years ago than it is now. And that, yes, is in part to I think a kind of top down from governmental funding, etc. But also it's because companies like ourselves and others have proved the appetite and the need for the work that we do. Things are better. Are we in a utopia?
Are they better enough?
Of course not. No, it's still difficult. It is still difficult.
We're very fortunate. We've always had sort of creativity as part of our lives, haven't we? And I'm sort of passionate about how important it is to be able to sort of express yourself in different ways. But I'm very aware that lots of people will think, you know, will not be aware that there's not people like me doing this.
I could never see myself doing something like that.
Yeah, and things like the extra support. Like, I'm autistic, and I know there's been loads of things that people have gone, well, just do it, just apply for it, and I can't. I really need a bit of hand holding, and a lot of it is sort of anxiety based. But that extra bit of, I'm always looking for a proper grown up, I guess, you know, and it looks like that you guys do that really well.
It is something, and again, that's something that over the years has been able to develop. You know, we've always tried to support our artists to the best of our ability, certainly in training, you know, there is support there. But then when it came to into employment, obviously, when we're making a show and when we're touring that show, we're kind of taking on that responsibility as a team as well. And there was a lot of that, you know, in probably the first 5-10 years I was here, rather than it being an additional role to the team. But because often we're all very familiar with each other because we know one another through working together through the training.
You know each other's
It can work in that way. But the problem becomes then, you know, when things get particularly exhausting, which they can when you're on the road, when you're touring, you're not as good at providing that element of the role. So you're not as good as supporting the artists because you almost need the time yourself.
Of course,
So what now has changed is that more often there's an additional person whose sole responsibility then is to support the artists in whatever way is needed for that artist to do their best work as part of the team.
That makes sense.
So that is something, that is a change and an improvement that we found over the 20 years of me being at the company. But again, it is another thing that has, in some ways, we've been able to do that with some of our projects because that was a funding change, and arts councils, England and Wales,
just turn up.
They started, and this was an argument we made over a number of years, because one of the issues in creating the work that we do in comparison to another theatre company is that, you know, there might be 25% or 20% additional cost because you're paying
support
for artist support, which of course is absolutely necessary. But the system wasn't fair in the expectation that would then be included as part of your budget in the same way that any other theatre company would budget. So what they do now is they split it off, so you can include access costs as separate from what you were applying for towards a project.
Yeah.
And what that really helped with us is that it meant that, you know, we could then be more ambitious in our projects and our working, because we weren't limited. And we were able to pull away this expenditure, so that was protected for support of the artists.
Fantastic.
And it makes it a bit, seems to make it a bit fairer generally, you know.
Yeah.
What still needs to improve, do you think, if you had a magic wand?
Access to work, the benefit system.
How long have we got? Not long enough.
You know, we've got a show out on the road at the moment, one, Meet Fred, one that we've been, you know, it's his 10th anniversary tour, so it's seen a lot of success. It goes down really well with audiences, but the crux of that story is the impact that the benefit system has on many of our artists in terms of creating a barrier to being paid for their employment, often. And things have shifted again from now to 10 years ago with that, but now it feels much more like access to work is becoming just not fit for purpose.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
It's an old creaky kind
it's an old creaky thing that it just does not work to get disabled people into employment, because there's a 35-week turnaround at the moment on any application. How can you expect
just
to pick up some employment and then start 35 weeks down the line or commit to it before you know that the funding's going to be in place, and then you end up with a massive bill. It's
and there's still, I think there's still a general gap in sort of day-to-day understanding about what disabled people might need. In that, like we were talking, we have some of our CPF's members come on to talk to us, and quite often the people that are working, that we know, we were talking about. I wanted to know about what's the phrase?
I don't know. What is the phrase?
About making adjustments that are
reasonable adjustments.
Okay. Like, is there some sort of like list of stuff, like what is, like I wouldn't know what to ask for I know what I need if I'm in a space with other people. I know what makes work intolerable for me and what makes workable conditions, but you hear so much of the time where people are working in almost intolerable conditions because, you know, either of a lack of understanding or a lack of training, and again not having a third party to sort of go, this isn't okay. You know, it's a tricky one, I think.
Yeah, and you know, it's about being person-centred, isn't it? Because what are reasonable adjustments for one person is totally different. For the next person. So I think it's, you know, it is a really tricky kind of puzzle, but there just seems to be a general feeling that it's been made to be more difficult as well. You know, as a way of.
Are you finding that more and more so?
That can access it.
Yes.
Yeah.
There does seem to be. It is more difficult now. There are more hoops to jump through, and criteria to fulfill, and just more fighting.
Yeah. And then, I mean, on the other side of it, like just generally in terms of barriers for our artists in the industry, you know, I mean, there aren't many organisations who make theatre, who make film, who work or are used to working with the sort of considerations that we work with in the way that we make our work. So when we talk about our artists gaining work outside of Hijinks, then often there are all sorts of considerations that companies haven't considered.
Absolutely.
That we're then kind of helping them to work through.
I was going to ask, do you have a little sort of tiny department that goes out and educates other production groups or? Yeah,
I mean, yes, we have a number of we have an agency.
Okay.
So they represent. If you're on an academy, generally you have a choice to be represented by the agency as well.
Right.
And part of that is finding employment outside of Hijinks. And then, you know, if a theatre company or production company wants to work with one of our artists, often we're there to also support them into work, make sure that there's a creative enabler in place. Sometimes we're arranging their travel, their accommodation,
real practical stuff.
Just pull it so that it's a whole package around that person. Now obviously that's not something a regular agency would ever offer. If you're an actor, you get a job or you sort yourself out. But it's just an additional consideration for us. But then also we'd advise, as required, any production company employing our artists of if they need that advice, then we're there for that.
You're there for that. That must be invaluable.
I mean, it's a big workload. Because
I was thinking,
like I say, it's these are all additional tasks to what would usually be expected of an agent.
I'm always sort of blown away by any sort of organisational skills at all, and I'm just like thinking, because you do quite a lot of international projects as well. Like they must take some phenomenal. Triggered. Sorry.
I mean, in some ways, it's the international work's always great fun. And it's always really exhausting.
It must be.
But the sort of experiences it offers, not just for our artists, but for ourselves, for anyone in the organisation, is incredible. But the logistics of some of the projects that we run internationally, we've got a team now who are very used to operating in that way. And so it's become, I guess, second nature. But coming from it,
because that's all they do.
It's if we're like, we'll go and visit festivals through the summer. So we're kind of used to doing it, but coming from it from a zero level of experience, it would be daunting.
Very much so. When you're traveling, is there somewhere that surprised you in terms of how enjoyable it was to work there as Hijinks?
Do you know what? We were invited to do a piece in Kyrgyzstan last year. Like very random. It was someone got in touch with us because the ambassador to Kyrgyzstan is Welsh. He's a guy called Nick. He's from Krakow, I think. And every year on St. David's Day, he organises an event in Kyrgyzstan to celebrate St. David's Day.
Fantastic.
And he invites over a Welsh art organisation. I think he had the women's rugby team there or something to kind of aid kind of women in sport over there. So there's always a sort of agenda, I guess, terms of what the need for it is. So they got in touch wanting a cultural exchange with us, and obviously learning disability in Kyrgyzstan, the situation is so far removed from here.
It's be very different.
Very, very different. So the sort of visibility of the work that we do is a really key part of being invited, because it's a rarity there. To see a person on the streets, for example, who happens to have Down syndrome, let alone in a performance
on stage,
performing alongside other artists, with complete equality. So they invited us to Kyrgyzstan, to Bishkek, which is the centre, the city centre. City. What's the word I'm looking for?
Capital.
Thank you. God. Capital. And like when you go somewhere like that, you never know what to expect or how people that we're travelling with are going to react to it. And we had a beautiful time. We had it's an unusual place, kind of on the edge of the world, it feels like, because you're in this sort of hinterland, really, between kind of Europe and Asia and Russia. This sort of Central Asian strip, kind of very like high plateau. And so it had a very unusual feel to the place. And really culturally really interesting, because you've got this indigenous Kyrgyz community who look a very kind of Asian culturally, and then you've got kind of quite a big white Russian influence, but then also Muslim influence. So it's this real kind of crossover.
Yeah.
Lots of people fleeing the war, the Ukrainian war.
Yeah.
Kind of from being drafted into or people who have kind of protested against the Russian state and have had to go into hiding basically there. So very interesting part of the world, but really welcoming and accommodating, and just when you go to places like that, I think it restores your faith, I guess, in human spirit and humanity.
It must put some perspective on things.
Yeah. It must be really interesting seeing going to different countries and seeing culturally, like how differently disabled are seen in society. I saw about a project where you went to Africa. That one looked really interesting as well.
Yes, that was a good few years ago, wasn't it? But that was Lesotho or Lesotho. I can never quite get the pronunciation correct. But that was. I didn't travel on that one, but my colleague John and our then CEO Claire, and Amy, who's our academy or artist development director now, travelled with some of our artists. And again, I think that's. You're in a place that is so far removed from your own culture that the potential for that sort of culture shock is great. But they had a wonderful time and learned a huge amount about how disability there is viewed. And I think there's some really scary kind of myths, certainly in Lesotho, around learning disability. It's just out of this world. And very dark.
One doesn't sort of bump up against that stuff.
No.
In day-to-day life.
We were having a bit of a talk about this earlier this morning. I was talking to some of the other staff members, and you sort of think it was one of those moments where someone was talking about one of the production's housemates.
Yes.
That they saw, and how the emotional impact it had on them, make them think, like, if I was born in another time or in another place, what a different life I could have had. And it's not often you sort of consider that, is it? The sort of it's sliding doors type. Yeah.
What if I'd been born then, or what? And that was one of the ideas, because at the end of Housemates, there's a kind of stage invasion so a lot of our artists' academy members all invaded the stage at each of the shows we did around Wales. And I think part of that was that thing of actually these people have a direct the story has a direct impact. Because if these things hadn't happened, there's a real possibility that these institutions could still have existed, and none of us would have met the wonderful people that we've been able to meet.
Wild, isn't it?
So Housemates is a story that started in Ely Hospital. So Ely Hospital was an institution, a previous asylum, a previous workhouse that used to house learning disabled and or autistic adults and children. Now, in the 1970s, there was actually a scandal at the hospital in the 60s, and a whistleblower that kind of broke that, there was lots of abuse in these institutions. And what that led to was the hospital authorities needing to open up to the community. So what they did is they invited students to come and volunteer at the hospitals. And what that meant is you got lots of young people coming into the hospitals with new ideas, but also witnessing some of the horrors in these places. I mean, Gaynor Lucker, who's one of the founders of Hijinks, she was one of these people that visited the hospital and witnessed for herself. And actually, it was one of the things that then led to them setting up a company like Hijinks.
Wow.
I'll come back to that, actually. There was one student called Jim Mansell, and he volunteered at the hospital, and he made friends with one of the residents called Alan Duncan, who was a young guy 18, 19 with Down syndrome. And he wanted a simple thing, which was just to live in a house, not a hospital, or live in his own home, not a hospital. So him and Jim worked together to try and convince the hospital authorities to allow Alan and some of his friends to move out of the hospital and into a shared house alongside student volunteers.
Okay.
And the hospital were completely against it, so they fought it all the way.
Yeah.
They would claim that if this happened, somebody would die, because in their view, the sort of care that people needed, could only be provided in a hospital. But of course, the irony is that was not care at all that was being provided in these places. Eventually, they won, and they got to move. So Alan and I think it was 3 or 5 moved out initially from the hospital into this shared house in Cardiff, in Roath. And there's so many stories from this period because there was absolute chaos. Yeah. You imagine it was a working
learning curve.
You were not just, students, can barely look after themselves anyway. And then you've got 5 residents from a hospital who rarely have been let out of that place, and everything is either not done for them or, So the massive learning, I think, curve from both kind of elements there. But eventually it worked, and it was proved to be effective. And what that led to is more and more houses being set up that people were able to move out of these hospitals into the community, and these institutions started to close down. So one by one, kind of over the next 2 decades, they closed and closed and closed and closed, and now it moved into care. What was care in the community, which is now what we obviously recognise. That's the story we tell. It's a real kind of revolution in a way, because it took that sort of drive. Yeah, it's set in the 70s, so it's filled with lots of live music, full of live band.
You've got Hijinks has a in-house band, don't you?
We do. They don't provide the music for housemates, but we do have a band called Vaguely Artistic. That's a great story as well.
We're just lining them up today.
They're called Vaguely Artistic. Shall I just jump to that story?
Yes, go on.
Yes, please.
They're called Vaguely Artistic because there's a guy called Matthew, who's been part of our community theatre company Odyssey pretty much since its inception, which was 1999. And he suffered a brain hemorrhage, and before he told us that he always wanted to be in a band, and when we asked what he called that band, it was Vaguely Artistic. So that's what became the band. Yeah, band name. And he is in the band, obviously. But yeah, it just seemed like a fantastic name for a band.
It is brilliant. You were going to tell us a story prior to that
about Gaynor. About the setup of Hijinks.
How did it all begin?
So it is somehow intrigues this weird kind of crossover with being able to produce a show like Housemates at this point in time, but then within Hijinks' own history, there's also a link in to the story. Is that Gaynor, did visit the hospital. I'm not sure how many times, but it affected her. The way that she's spoken about it. But what happened when they started to kind of move and close down Ely Hospital is there were lots of initiatives and funds going into Ely.
Okay.
Right.
And one of the initiatives was the setting up of a festival called Ely Festival.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the first things that Hijinks produced as an organisation, or it almost was created to do this, was to work with Ely Festival.
Right.
So that's when they started to kind of work in the community, and the whole company started around this initiative that came out of the closure of Ely, or the beginnings of moving people out of Ely Hospital.
Yeah.
And the thing about Alan Duncan as well, from the resident who had been in the hospital, I'd read about him on a number of occasions through stories, and because he became a real kind of character around the music scene and pub scene in Cardiff in the sort of in the 80s. So he'd play in a band called Spasm that played at places like Chapter when Chapter was first kind of opening up in the 70s. And you know, he had a kind of this name for himself as being a singer in this band. I think he was, but someone from the audience who then jump up and after time just became part of the band. They just incorporated him into the band. And so he was like, you know, every now and again there was an article coming up in a reminiscing about it. So I kind of knew about his story a little bit.
Right.
Which is why in the show Housemates, obviously, we make a lot of Alan wanting to play the drums as well and being part of a band. And then at the end of the show, he does get to be the drummer in the band. Yeah.
What a lovely circle-y thing.
Yeah.
And there's some great stories about Alan as well. Told by people that worked with him in the house or in other houses. One I heard was he used to go to the Tucking Cafe in Canton, in Canton High Street, every Saturday or something for a fry up, and he loved his black pudding.
Right.
And he went in one.
Good man.
My uncle Don used to swear by the Tucking Cafe for a breakfast.
We know it well. Yeah.
And he went in one morning and behind the counter he said, "Oh, sorry, Alan. Listen, we've got no black pudding this week." Alan, he didn't say a word. Right. Turned around, walked out the shop. Walked down the road, went to the butcher, bought some black pudding, came back in, thwack on the desk.
Awesome, problem solved.
Nice work, Alan.
Yeah.
If you want something done, just
do it yourself. Yeah.
Tremendous.
I've got a feeling I know the answer to this. What does your sort of where do you start with your working day? Like, what does your week look like?
It's busy.
Yeah,
it's busy.
Much on. Yeah.
It's busy. It's different at different times of the year. Depends what projects are on. At the moment, we're budgeting, and I'm at that level at the moment. Unfortunately, where I have to try and get my head round all that stuff, and that gets very time consuming, and sometimes. You know, as an artistic director, which is what I am, takes you away from that kind of artistic mindset. Yeah.
No one likes doing big mouths.
No, but hey, that's the unpleasurable part of the job. But you know, I do get to still spend a lot of time in the room. So I was working with our artist this morning here in Carmarthen with Academy West on a new street piece that we're trying to pull together for our festival in the summer.
Nice.
You know, and when I go into rehearsals, that's all great. But my working week is varied. Yeah.
What are your favourite bits? What's the stuff that keeps you coming back?
The work with the people, with people,
the creative stuff,
the creative work.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, there's an element of creative and working towards production. There's an element of teaching as well still that's part of the role, and that's always really fun. I spend a lot of time driving projects forward, so trying to get opportunities for our artists and the projects that our artists are involved with. So that might be pushing work out to festivals,
right?
Talking to theatres, venues, booking tours, making kind of contacts with international opportunities, because all of that then brings further opportunity for our artists to experience working, to experience travelling. So there's a big portion of the job that is about
contacts,
about developing future opportunity.
Do you see other agencies that are doing similar things to you in different countries? Like, you see, seems such a unique organisation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have quite a network of like-minded, I guess, organisations, because I haven't mentioned it, but we have our Hijinks Unity Festival that happens every 2 years, and that very much has an international mindset. So we invite companies similar to Hijinks in many ways to come and perform at the festival as well.
Okay.
And through doing that over a number of years, we've been able to build up a number of contacts, and then travel with our own work.
Okay.
Because often they're linked to other festivals.
So you're kind of have making this network. Yeah. Is Unity always in Cardiff, by the way?
We do it in Cardiff, but now we also do kind of satellite days.
Okay.
So we have a day in Llanelli, and we have a day in Mould.
Right.
So it's happening this year, and we're in, I think, Llanelli on the 25th of June.
Okay.
And then Mould on the 27th of June, and then we'll do 5 days in Cardiff the following week from the 1st to the 5th of July.
July 26th.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Do you have a sort of vision of what you'd like to see happen next for Hijinks?
We work at such full capacity all the time, and we're always on the edges of what we're able to deliver. And I think, it'd be nice to get to a place where we're able to deliver the level of output that we want to deliver, while also managing to have a bit of a life around that.
Yeah. So you're at the edge of the envelope constantly.
Right now, it feels that way, and I think that's very probably true across the industry that we're in. Just we all feel very stretched. Finances are very stretched, and it feels like we have to compensate quite heavily in terms of our output.
That's so consistent across, I would say, everyone that we talk to who deliver some sort of service, whatever it is the same thing. Is like having to,
So I think what is that in terms of ambition? It's about the ambition to be resourced effectively for the level of ambition. So that it level fits. Of output that we want to produce, or the opportunities that we want to provide. Because at the moment we're probably not resourced to the level to enable that. So we either reduce our ambition in terms of output, which is always very hard because that has a direct impact on people and their lives. I'd love to get to a point where we feel, fully backed and resourced.
Do you see that happening? Do you think it's possible that can happen, that state?
I think it's all about economics, isn't it? And it feels like we've been operating for 20 years, 19 years, since 2008, where we're being told there's going to be an upturn, things will get better, and they just seem to get worse, and economically. Yeah.
That was a big question.
It was a big question. Yeah.
Let's pull back from
that. Back from global economics.
Capitalism,
panic attack,
etc.
When you were a bit more personal, when you were little Ben, what did you want to be when you grew up? Like does this fit with your personal trajectory?
I think, I did at school, etc. I loved drama. I wasn't really that great at other subjects. I wasn't great at subjects I didn't like, I guess. Maybe no one is.
Did you not apply yourself?
Stuff. Not really. Sorry. Kiwi, Cambria and Carmarthen. But I did get on really well in the subjects I liked, which were generally the creative subjects. So things like drama, art, writing, English. Expressive stuff. And I probably wanted to be an actor. So when I went I did John Moores University course, and I came out of that wanting to be an actor, which I was, and I have been, but it wasn't until I got the job at Spare Tyre Theatre Company in London.
In London,
Actually, oh God, this is a boring story, but I'll tell it anyway. I was doing a job in theatre and education tour, so theatre for young people in Liverpool. And I was in rehearsals and I slipped and I broke my tibia, my ankle. Okay. And so I was like 6 months.
Literally broke a leg.
Literally broke a leg, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, never thought of that. I did. So I had 6 months or so, maybe less, maybe 3 months. How long did it take to get? Anyway, I had no work. So I started applying for proper jobs.
Right.
Okay.
And one of them was for an administrator and project lead for this company, Spare Tire Theatre Company in London. And I got the job. So I moved down to London, but I did that because, I'd bust my leg and I was sick of being an out of work actor, basically. But that was my first experience of working with learning disabled artists.
Yeah.
Before that, I'd never even thought that this could be a thing that happens.
No.
And I found it incredible. There was the creativity in the space, the ideas that were completely there was no limit to them. There's no limiting like, oh no, that we can't do that.
Yeah.
You just did it.
Yeah. Was it quite a young company when you joined?
Yeah. Again, it was like a course that was being run by the company, but then each term they did a sort of a piece for schools that then toured into schools in London. So I was involved as part of that, but it really sort of opened my eyes really to actually a different approach to what theatre I think can be. And then that progressed to.
Were you there long, or did you move on?
I was there for 4 years.
Right.
I think I returned for another year as freelance doing stuff. And then I was sick of London, so moved out, moved away, went other places.
Is that how you ended up in Poland?
Yeah.
That's quite far.
Yeah. Yeah.
All or nothing.
And actually, it took that. Like I was away from probably 2-3 years from working in theatre, doing different stuff, teaching English and stuff like that. And what I realised I missed was that group of people that I'd been working with for Spare Tire Theatre Company, which is why when I saw the advert come up for Hijinks, I was like, okay, well,
there it is.
Yeah,
there's a route back. Yeah, and then luck would have it.
The rest
sliding doors again.
Yeah. So there's been no. I think probably there's been no. There was never a clear plan from little Ben. I want to be doing this when I'm older, but it was kind of. Yeah,
it sounds like you had something in the back of your mind kind of semi-driving you in that direction.
Yeah.
That and a broken ankle.
Yeah, the broken ankle helped. I don't know if I hadn't broken my ankle. Who knows where I'd be.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm going to ask you one last question, if I may. When are you most content?
Probably on a mountain, or in the sea, or at the beach. I enjoy my work immensely, which I'm very lucky. I'm going to say I enjoy 90% of my work immensely.
That's a pretty good ratio.
Work when I'm actually with, people, and that's what makes it for me. But there are pressures, always around that. And I think there are, when you have time to just be in open space and outside, and that's when I get to just unwind a bit without those pressures. So I like the outdoors and being in
nature,
in air and nature.
No,
by yourself.
That's a good question, isn't it? I don't know. No, not by myself.
Where do you want to go? Is it?
Well, I love being up a mountain or by the sea or in the sea. Or
I rarely get to be by myself because I have a family. Obviously, got 3 kids as well, and it's very busy.
Yeah, so never by yourself.
Actually, maybe it is by myself. Would be wonderful.
The ideal. Yeah. Let me know when when you get there. Shall we wrap things up? That was beautiful. Thank you for coming in and chatting with us, Ben.
Yes.
Pleasure.
It's been lovely.
This is such a great setup. I love it.
Thank you very much. We like it too.
Yes, we like it.
It's growing.
We keep coming back here.
We do.
Yeah.
And we hope that you'll keep coming back. Thank you for joining us again on Special AF. Ben, thank you for proving how Special AF you are.
I'll do a bit of a plug if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Please do.
I'm going to have to. We're currently touring Meet Fred. So
Awesome.
This is the 10th anniversary tour. So it's one we've been doing for a very long time. But it's probably its last full national tour of it. So it will be coming to some Welsh dates. So it's in Pontypridd on the 23rd of March. It's in Llanelli on the 26th of March. In Barry on the 28th. Where else? Blackwood on the 1st of June. There we are. Have a look on the website. All the tour dates are there.
Fantastic.
Very good.
And we'll link to
Got a really cool.
Well, I've got questions about Fred, but I'll save them for
Got a
after.
great little collage in the middle of all the old
Awesome.
through the years type collage.
How's Fred aging?
Terribly.
Is he?
Oh, he's a mess. It's only got one tour left. It's just going to pull
Yeah,
apart.
it happens
I
to
can't
all
wash
of
him
us.
anymore because the cloth's just going to deteriorate. But yeah, it's awful.
For old Fred.
Poor old Fred.
But hooray.
Check our website for info on where you can see our previous interviews and you can find out more about Hijinks and links to what they're doing next.